It's my pleasure to welcome Elsa Eliasson of Sweden. Elsa, as most of you know, was here with us in 2013-14 as an exchange student. She had a very storied exchange year here in town for sure. And we invited her today to tell us what's been going on since 2014 and what she's been up to, what the COVID world is like in Sweden, and pretty much anything she wants to say. Welcome, Elsa.
Thank you. Should I start? I don't even know what I should talk about. I guess I can start by when I got home from my exchange. I still had 2 years left of high school in Sweden. So it might seem like me graduating now took a really, really long time, but that's kind of how it is in Sweden, I guess, especially since I missed a year by coming to the United States. So I finished those years in high school, and then I took a gap year in which I just worked, which is fairly usual in Sweden, that you take a gap year or two to kind of earn some money and realize what you want to do. Some people travel and stuff like that. But I've always had a huge interest in cinema. I don't know if that came across really in my exchange, but I did take film class and media class, which I thought was really fun. I got to learn a lot about just about the start of movies, so that was fun. Film literature class it was. Anyway, so once I had my gap year, I decided that I wanted to take a bachelor in media communications. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years, just studying film basically and media and how to communicate in a town called Örebro, which I'm sure not a lot of people know where it is, but it's in the middle of the country. Studied there for 3 years, and then I had my internship in Stockholm, which people know more about. Did that for half a year and live now in Stockholm, and am now very happy to gotten a job where I did the internship, which is not easy in today's climate, I would say, because I would say that a lot of people are getting the opposite thing, getting laid off, unfortunately. And a lot of my other fellow students are taking other classes to kind of make up for the fact that they're not getting a job, so they're continuing their studies and stuff like that. But I'm very happy to be working at, it actually is a production company mostly for commercials, which is not maybe exactly what I want to do in the future, but it's a very good start, I would say. So I'm now the junior creative in that production company, or on that production company. So yeah. I don't know what else to say. I played handball for a year after I got back from United States, but it turns out that if you take a break a year, you're not as good when you come back. I played soccer and I played softball, and that went really well, I would say. But yeah, so I only played handball for like a year after that. After that, I realized that it's not fun to play sports if you're not good at them. Which is kind of typical for me to think, but so I don't do handball anymore, but I do enjoy watching it. I'm trying to figure out what my life is besides school and now work. Oh God. Does anyone want to give me some questions, or I don't know?
Elsa, Mark Huntley here. What's the so just a couple quick questions, unrelated. So as far as film, is there like editing or writing or directing, or do you have a certain area you really are drawn to?
Yes, definitely. I actually, funny enough, I wrote my first, nobody knows this, but I wrote my first screenplay while in the United States doing my exchange year. It was a terrible screenplay, but it gave me a lot of practice. And I finished it, which was the most important part. And after that, I realized that I really wanted to do either directing or mostly just screenwriting, because I find the process of creating a whole story from nothing very exciting. And so I actually want to do that, and that's what I'm doing right now. A client comes up with, they're from a car company, and they say, oh, we don't want to do a commercial, and we say, oh, what do you want to do about it? He's like, no, I don't really know. And then we come up with the best commercial possible, and then we write the script and just do various ideas. So what I want to do is just mainly not do it for commercials, but just write fiction. So writing screenplays, I would say. And I've actually competed in a few competitions with screenplays. There's a thing called the Final Draft competition. It's the largest one in the world, actually, and it's an American contest. So I wrote another script 2 years ago in English, and there was 10,000 people who, oh God, I can't speak English anymore. There were 10,000 entries, and I was one of the 250 people who got to the quarterfinal, which I thought was very cool because I wasn't writing in my native language, and it was just basically a thriller, which I just why not sent it to this competition. And I didn't make it further than the being a quarter finalist, but I thought that this proves that what I write isn't complete garbage. I have something to definitely build on. And so that kind of gave me confidence that what I'm doing is perhaps somewhat good, and I can always be better. So yeah, definitely just screenwriting is my biggest dream, I would say. But I mean, I'm kind of young, so I'm happy doing just about anything in film right now. But if I were to narrow it down, it would definitely be the creative process of screenwriting and then maybe directing. Once I get to know more about directing, I mean, my work now would mean that I would be a director's assistant on different commercials, which I think would teach me a whole lot. So I think it's just being in that business for a few years will give me a lot, hopefully.
Exciting. That's great. Good luck. And just one other quick question: how is your country coping with this situation with COVID? How does it differ from here, or what's interesting and different from your perspective?
I mean, I think Sweden is pretty different because I think most people know that we didn't really have any boundaries, or we didn't have any quarantine. All we did was pretty much say that you can't be in a room with more than 50 people. And I think that has to do a lot with the fact that the idea, I think, is to not pause an entire society. It's a way to give faith to the other people, give faith to people that they can manage and they can stay safe and be safe. But honestly, I don't know how well it's working. Our death figures are very high, but I don't know. I also living in Stockholm, where it's a lot of corona cases. I would say definitely, without a doubt, the most in the country by far. I think now that you see that people are kind of ignoring it, which is kind of sad, I would say. But we still have the restriction of not having more than 50 people in every room. So that means that nightclubs and big restaurants at least can't be open, but it still doesn't, I mean, people still go out and sit in public places and hang around very tightly, or however you say it. So it's a weird time, but I think, I don't know. It's weird to see other countries doing quarantine and stuff like that, and it seemed like we didn't do that much. We did stay home from the office though for 2.5 months. That we did do, but yeah, it's a weird time.
Sure is.
What other does, welcome Darren,
Hey, and
Oh.
Laura's here too.
kids?
Hello.
It's good to see your face,
Hello.
Elsa.
Oh, it's good to see yours.
Does, Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, so coincidentally, the New York Times article this morning is titled "Nordic Neighbors Avoid Sweden Like the Plague." But it basically says is that Norway, Denmark, and Finland have barred entry from Sweden. Is that a big issue over there for Swedes?
It depends on kind of where you are. I would say in the middle of the country, it's there's actually a lot of Norwegians that get to Sweden in the summer. That's where many have their vacation. So I see a lot of people having, what is it called? Where you have your RV and you drive it into a, what's that called? Camping site? I don't know.
Campground.
Yeah, campground. I think we know a lot of those are definitely going to be affected because a lot of campers are from Norway. So, and it's also, I mean, yeah, I actually have relatives that I was going to visit in Norway, and now there's no way they're going to let a Swede in, which is, it feels strange, but I totally understand it because we had such a different approach than the other Nordic countries. I mean, you see Denmark, they had like, there can't be more than 10 people in the same room. That I obviously understand it, but it's going to affect the Swedish economy too, especially with the Norwegians that can't visit, I would say.
Any other questions? For
Not a
Elsa?
question, but a memory. I remember when Elsa was figuring extra large on the soccer team, and I think you were the goalie
Oh, yeah.
for Ludlow. And also, I remember an incredible catch you made in center and left field during a championship game in softball. And it was rather remarkable to see you master those sports so quickly. It's just something I enjoyed a lot.
Thank
That was
you.
fun.
I don't know if I mastered softball though. I think I had just an extreme good luck the last game because there was a reason why I was the last batter, I would say. But then the boys coach for baseball, he showed me how I should swing the bat just before the last game, and then it ended up being a good thing because I had four for four hits. So
Yes, I believe you had the winning hit.
yeah, I
you
did. And I tried to brag about it all the time in Sweden, but no one knows what softball is. So I was like, I had 4 for 4 that day. And they're like, what does 4 for 4 mean? But it feels good when you look back. And yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, looking back, I would say that year abroad was definitely the best year of my life. And I've been telling everyone about that. But sometimes you kind of don't realize that you're in the best year of your life until after you live the best year of your life. And then it just makes you sad that you can't go back to it just for like a day.
You can come back.
Yeah, I can come back, but it's not going to be the same. And now I have to have vacation days and I have to plan the trip and I have to do, I mean, I'm not a kid anymore, unfortunately.
Elsa, Laura and I get invited because we're not part of Ludlow anymore. We're back in Maine, and we were very grateful that Mark and everybody reached out to us to let us know you were going to be on the call today so that we could jump on. And maybe you said something before we got on. We might have got on a little after you started talking. But how are things going with aren't you working for a production company, video production company?
I was talking about it a little. It's going well. I had the internship, but now last month they told me that they really wanted me to work there full time.
Oh, excellent.
So that's awesome because that's not a guarantee during these times. And so I'm going to be the junior creative there. So meaning I'll be the ones coming up with ideas for commercials and writing the scripts and then being a director's assistant in production. And I mean, commercial is not my number one choice to be doing all my life, but I think it's a very good start. And it's also, the projects go so kind of fast that you kind of learn a lot, I would say, with doing various projects and stuff like that. So I'm extremely excited, but the job doesn't start until 17th of August. So I'm actually taking a literature class right now just to, I don't know, do something. I mean, Sweden also gives you, if you're studying at a university, you get, well, what would be like $1,000 a month, and half is what will become a debt with a very small rate. And then half is given to you by the state, by your state. So that way I could study for another 2 months before I got to work, which I thought was fun also.
Maybe we'll see you on the Swedish Emmys for best foreign commercial or something.
It's called like it's a type of bug. That's what you win, a golden bug in Sweden, which is just awful. But I mean, I
We're
don't
rooting
think,
for you.
but I mean, in my book, I'm not going to stay in Sweden all my life. I feel like the world is way too much of an interesting place to just be in one country, and I've experienced United States, so I think I mean, you never know where I'll end up. I'm pretty sure.
Well, keep us posted.
I will.
So does anybody have any other questions for Elsa at all?
So Elsa, we haven't had any sports in our country, so we were really excited to find handball on I don't know, some station. So we were texting a little bit about that. So what position did you play?
Oh God, what's it called? What is it called in your country?
We don't have handball. We don't have handball.
But I mean, do you have like the positions? It's called
like forward or?
Yeah, were you like over the line or behind the line? We tried to figure out the rules, but it's pretty tough.
I'm pretty sure you didn't figure out the rules if you're asking me questions like that. Because no one's supposed to be behind the line except for the goalie. So, and I wasn't a goalie. I mean, I would only kind of explain that you play both offense and defense. And I was kind of one of the tall people, somewhat in the middle, that just shoots from a very far distance and just jumps up over the defense and just slams it. Because I'm pretty tall, you know.
You're like a forward in basketball.
Yeah, probably forward, I would say.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a difficult sport to describe, I would say. Even in Swedish, it would be difficult for someone who wouldn't know anything about it. But yeah, I was one of the people who scored.
Good job.
Well, it was fun to watch that and to think of you and
Aww. But yeah. I want to say that it's a pretty tough sport. I mean, we have almost no protection and people are going like this to each other and all you get is a free throw. It's not like you get a red card for pushing each other and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty tough, I would say.
You're tough.
Kim?
I have a question for Elsa. Have you remained in contact with any of the other students the year you were here?
I think I follow most of them on Instagram, and I actually contact a few of them sometimes. But I would say the best contact is with the girl named France, who was from Belgium. She was in the, oh, Jim can't help me with this. Where was she? She was somewhere in New Hampshire.
Hollis Brookline.
What?
She was in
Is she in
Hollis
Holliston?
Brookline.
Yeah. She and I actually met in Sweden like 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, maybe. She was there with her friends, and then she just asked me like, oh, do you live near Stockholm? And I lied and said, yeah, kind of. And then I went over there and met her. But there hasn't been we still have a Facebook group but there hasn't been a lot of information, or we haven't talked that much in it, unfortunately. I don't know if people, if there is a WhatsApp group, but if there is, I'm not in it. And if so, then I blame Jim.
You're blaming me for any technology you're making.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like I don't keep that much contact with them, but if I were to talk to them, it would be like nothing had ever, like no time had passed. And I'm so happy to see what some people are doing in my group. Like Pablo, I'm pretty sure I don't know if he's becoming one or if he is a doctor, but that's impressive.
Who is that?
So, I don't know if you know him. Dude from Ecuador.
Maybe not. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, but now that we're saying it, I kind of wish that I had more contact with my fellow exchange students. Maybe I should do that right after I've done this. Is write to them on Facebook and say like, hey, we always said that we would be at that we would meet 2 years after on Oktoberfest in Germany, but nothing really happened because we would everybody had to turn 18 first, and then we would all meet at the Oktoberfest, but that didn't happen. But we can meet, I'm sure. Yeah, but so France is the only one I actually met. I did get invited to. I did get invited from. I had the West Coast trip, which was like 90 kids that were meeting, and then I met a guy who also was from Belgium, and he invited me like 3 years ago to come to his cabin with like a bunch of other exchange people, but I couldn't come that year because I had to work or something. So then I would, if I were to do that, that would be meeting mostly the people I had the West Coast trip with, who I still follow on Instagram and comment on sometimes. I met Abigail at least. I know she's not an exchange student, but we've met twice.
Nice.
Okay. Does anybody have any additional questions for Elsa at all?
I don't have a question, but we love her and miss her very much.
Oh,
Definitely.
I was gonna say that I realized that Father's Day in the United States, it's not the same date as in Sweden, but I realized it was this Sunday, and I was like, I have to like say Happy Father's Day to Darren and Bruce here because I forgot it. But I blame the fact that it's not the same date as in Sweden. But happy belated Father's Day, I should say.
This more than makes up for that. Thank you.
Not exactly a question, but just Elsa, really good to see you and see you looking so wonderfully grown up and adult and all that. And I think actually you're working on commercials is fabulous training ground for what you want to do, because if you can tell a good story in 30 seconds or a minute, you've really got your creative juices working well, and you've learned the importance of making every frame count when you're working in that medium, and it's much more demanding than giving you an hour and a half to tell that story. So I think you're in a great place to continue your learning, and I'll look forward to tracing how you go about the globe here. So nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
I just want to thank Jim for making sure that we knew, Bob and I knew that Elsa was coming, and invited us to this Zoom Rotary meeting with the Ludlow Club. It's just great to see you again. And you had great leadership style when you were with us. I think that probably hasn't changed.
Oh, it's so sweet. I still remember you calling me that I was your sweetie instead of sweetie.
Your sweetie, yes.
Yeah, I thought
I'd
that was
forgotten
awesome.
that.
Yeah, and I realized that today, like, oh, Phil and his sweetie. It was always so adorable, I'd say. Oh. And and you and Bob singing the Exchangers song, or then the "We are exchangers, exchangers, we live it up, we live it up, we live it up, we do. So pass some more tequila," or something.
Yes, that was it. Still got it.
Still make me proud, Phil. Elsa, I just want to say as well that, you know, for the program, your legacy lives on. Our student who's here from Sweden right now was going to log in, but she couldn't because she wanted to meet the person behind all these stories. And certainly, as I see Abigail, New York City, I've changed some things there because I sit in a restaurant like a fool laughing at a tiny plate of rice and no one knows why, and they think the old man has lost it. So we don't go there anymore. And statues, but we've changed.
I remember why we were laughing.
What's that?
I don't even remember why we were laughing. It was just tiny food.
I think probably you had just starved to death by that point. But yeah, there's just so many things that, ways that you've impacted, and you're still part of the stories of orientation and things like that. And certainly some great memories for me as well. It's awesome to see you. And we never saw you as a little kid, but it's cool to see you as a older woman out in the working world and all those things. It's great to see you.
Thank you. You guys are giving me too much. You guys are like making me 10 feet tall. I'm gonna be so cocky after this. People are just giving me compliments.
And Elsa,
thank you so much.
We honestly should have had Tom Haley write the introduction for you, because he still does mention you in the Rutland Herald.
I mean, that's what you want. No, but I honestly find it amazing that people still send me like papers in which they still mention my name. Like, it's unbelievable. And when I tell that to my mom, she's like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing." She's like in awe over my exchange year.
How was your mom and your sister?
They're very well, I would say. My sister just graduated from being a civil engineer in chemistry. So she's done with that. And now she's telling me that I'm not sure I want to work in chemistry. And I was like, you should have probably realized that 6 years earlier, but I don't know. She might change her mind tomorrow. My mom's still the Swedish manager for the grill
Weber.
Company, Weber Steven Grill. Yeah. She's still the Swedish manager, still working there, still pretty.
Did we freeze or did you freeze?
Huh? What? I didn't hear.
I think he was asking that if you froze, but you're not frozen on my screen.
Okay, but now Darren's kind of frozen on my screen.
Darren.
I thought it was just looking at me very persistently.
He's frozen on my screen too.
Oh, me? Or
No,
Darren?
Darren
Okay.
Moore.
Darren, yeah.
Even to try it back in.
Okay, well, once Darren unfreezes himself, we want to thank Elsa for joining us today and updating us on your life, and you know, you're a fascinating woman, young woman, and you're just getting started, and it's real exciting that Rotary is a part of your life still, and probably always will be. So with that, if there's no other questions for Elsa at all, we'll say goodbye.
But you're welcome to stay.
You're welcome to hang around. I mean,
it's almost 7 p.m. So my boyfriend probably wants to start cooking. So I'm afraid that I maybe should get on with my life, because you know it's later on the other side of the pond. I can't speak English anymore. I can't.
Right.
Well,
but thank you so much for having me. It's been fun seeing everyone's faces again.
Thank you for
Very fun.
joining
Thanks
us.
for coming on.
Bye.
Goodbye.